Okay, so this is an intro and a disclaimer for the video that you're about to watch, which is something I recorded 2 days ago. I'm speaking on things that are personal to my own health in this video, but I don't really say anything about, well, I guess it would leave my viewer to wonder if I'm doing the necessary things to make sure that I'm safe. Simply because my criticisms and thoughts on the healthcare system that I share throughout the video are valid in my opinion, but they fail to recognize that pharmaceutical support is essential in many cases, but for me, it's all about the subtle balances, minerals and the vitamins and the nutrients of the system, of the human body. And the chemicals within the medications have been so troubling for my own system in the past. But I wouldn't want for somebody to watch this video and think that I'm completely aloof to my own well-being. Because of my past histories, I have an extensive past with having blood work panels done and whatnot to monitor such things. And I could go on into a lot more detail around my thoughts around the types of migraines that I get, the visual migraines, all sorts of different things. And I think that people know this, but you have to say it in words, and that is that, like, nothing I ever say, I'm never talking anybody out of seeking traditional care, because it's very important. And obviously, like I say in this video, you can't really ignore certain things if your body is communicating to you and you need help. So, the disclaimer around being I'm in no way a medical professional. And my fear, too, is with head injury, my concussions, because of how I have not, for whatever reason I say in the video, they haven't always been handled with serious reaction, because there was no aftermath, no long-term aftermath, except for these things that I experience. And it gets very complicated for me, because I know in a system like that, being asked to describe what it is that I live with on a daily basis, talking about visions, which could be considered hallucinations, or hearing things that aren't there. I have a deep fear and an aversion to being assessed in a system that's going to end up saying I'm like the guy from A Beautiful Mind, which is one of my favorite movies. Something that my spiritual mentor and healer, Emily, told me a few years ago. I didn't understand so many things back then in a way that I do now. And she said, you could have been like that, but you're not. It's like you're like that, but you're not. So, I mean, it is important to care for the body. And I do have, I've talked about my knees. I've talked less about my headaches and concussions and any of that, because it's complicated. But I just want as a reassurance and a notice of advisement that I am like safe and well in the ways that I need to be, and have all emergency people and care in place if anything were to happen. Because I talk about fainting in the shower. So that could be a trigger warning too. This is kind of a strange video and a strange share, but I was walking and I was reflecting on it. This plays into another disclaimer. I used a new kind of tattoo needle. I've been tattooing my own body for years, and I tend to do it in a safe, controlled, very sanitary, sealed, environment. And so I had something new happen to me that hasn't, where I made a mistake. Don't be mad at me. I'm very careful, but we all make mistakes. It was because this kind of needle only has like a single prong, so it can go through the layers of the skin more deeply, and I hit the wrong point. in my arm, and it's going to be okay because it was a very light touch, but it caused immediate discomfort from the area in the middle of my left bicep where I was tattooing, all the way down to the tip of my middle finger. Like I had hit this kind of internal funny bone, and I was like, okay. So I would not recommend the undertaking of tattooing one's own self. That's my recommendation. I do it because I've had great experiences with it, and I literally, like, I talk about imbuing energy into artwork. I imbue them with things for certain purposes. So it's important to me, but it's not something that one should just venture into lightly. I mean, I understand that I'm very hypocritical when I say this because I didn't even know I wanted a tattoo of what I am doing on my arm in the way that, in the area or anything about it before 2 or 3 nights ago when I did it. But that too is part of how I add tattoos to my body. It's always been like that. It's kind of how I make artwork too. But they're obviously permanent, and I didn't even get to finish it because it blew up into a little hematoma and needs to heal. It's doing quite well. Don't worry. It went down immediately. I'm fine. I'm like massaging my arm right now. I've been caring for it in the way that I was advised to by the internet, and it's worked wonders. But the tattoo is going to have these diamonds like a sparkle emoji would, but they're going to be little itty bitty kites that have their own trails with bows on them, flowing away from the primary object, which you'll see because I'm going to be making the cover image, the picture of where it's at with the bruises. Another thing I'll add is that I know it's not great I should be more careful. It was not a good instance with the vessel and the needle in my arm. That is to be avoided. I'm not excusing it in any way. I'm just admitting that it happened. But because my logo has like clouds and pastel, I'm like, is it awfully wrong and kind of bad that I sort of like the way the bruise makes it look like clouds? I have another tattoo. I mean, you live and you learn. It was years ago, but I had consumed about 2 bottles of rosé, I think, and decided I wanted to start off on an adventure that ended up being a mistake that lives quite near to my armpit. It's like this weird little thing, and I don't like it, but that's just the karma of having made that decision. And there's no real rush to change it. It's not a horrible thing. It just looks like someone scribbled with pen on my... It's like kind of indiscernible and bothersome. And then if you talk about imbuing energy, for me, I'm just like, you dumbass. Great. Frustrated with my past decisions. But that's okay. And I intend to cover it up when I know what it is that I want to do there. But putting one right next to it kind of highlights its existence in a new way, and I'm irritated more by it than I have been. Yeah, I'm really into the one that I'm doing, though, because it lends itself to repeating the logo in a pattern and making it a band that goes all the way around my arm. And I like that because I love language with tattoo culture. And it harkens back to more of like a traditional Americana barbed wire. I'm somebody who I would have said 3 weeks ago I would never get my upper arms tattooed. I have like understandings. What's very cool is that my personal visions recently have opened up to allow me to see certain timeline potentials for the completion of my abdomen tattoo. And I love them. I'm so excited because I've been waiting for those to start coming to me. But you can't rush divine timing. Oh. And so, like, the primary WE in the logo would, I'll talk about its symbolism right now, just to talk about it. But it came to me through channel, and I have 2 other WEs on my wrist, pre-existing in a northeast-southwest configuration that's part of a more detailed tattoo. And I was generating ideas for the YouTube channel probably about a year ago. No, I don't know. I thought and drafted about the YouTube channel in so many ways for a long time. I would pick it up and put it down and pick it up and put it down. And so much of what I made in order to be able to start it was just busy work because I was avoiding just starting it. I didn't even end up using so many things like, I even have a intro animation. It's cute, but there's no purpose for it. I talk so much. You don't need to watch the same thing in the beginning of all the videos. It'd be soothing, I suppose. I love to grapple and play with the navigation of creating a personal brand, right? Because I want to be deeply authentic to myself because I find joy in defining certain things that are like the items that we have to play with in the physical world. Personal style, but also the artwork I make. And then I want to extend that to the things that I say. But so the aesthetic of the YouTube channel, I like it to be more about the message, obviously. And so anyway, just playing around with all of those things. And I ended up coming up with these squiggles, and I like how they kind of allude to my twisties and just continuous line because the W and the E they're identical shapes. I made it on the iPad, and once I did one curly Q, I just duplicated it and rotated it. And it speaks to sacred geometries as well. Being able to take something like a feeling or an energy and graph it or map it or see into the crystals of matter and energy itself. And then the second, deep, primary, beautiful meaning, that's the most powerfully alchemically and meaningful to the nature of my work and the topics of, what I focus on, is the Vesica Pisces, which is the Venn diagram of 2 circles that represents, duality, and then oneness in the center, more like male and female energies and the union. I'm just seeing my black butterfly from Italy as well, and the synchronicities around meeting that other artist who brought it up to me. And so then by the extension of that, I also just like to let myself off the hook and remind myself that I'm young and it's okay to just like enjoy the facets of how I've been shaped and conditioned culturally. Like I can rebel against certain things and be like, it's programming. There's horrible messaging in this. The children. But like I was one of those children sitting in the backseat of the car, some ridiculously not understanding of like the profanity in the lyrics and all these things, and but just still let that be what it is and not be so uptight about the stringency of things. Makes me think about acknowledging that certain role models or people can be deeply talented and good and inspirational, but also very problematic. It's the liminal spaces and the nuance again. So anyway, just seeing it as like a little cartoon fat ass for fun, because I love many applications. I love things that are malleable and apply to so many different things, and it's it's kind of beautiful and makes me think of another one of my tattoos, which is an homage to the notion of Ouroboros, death and rebirth, but mine is a crocodile eating its own tail, because I got it from Alpha Channeling, which is a Instagram account, or really just a website and an artist. They make calendars and coloring books. But it's all like erotic, sexual, colorful, really colorful stuff. And it's very cursive. It's like if artwork could be cursive. And I like that. I like that a lot. the flow of life, the flow of life force energy, sexual energy. Yeah, it's like, this is kind of crude, I guess, or whatever. It's like all people are horny for the wrong things. It's just a way of putting something into words, so don't take it too literally, but it is kind of literal. The manipulation of sexual energy and where we gravitate as peoples. So then just kind of co-opting like the classic armband, making it my curly cues, having it go all the way around, but having like the same way I'm doing with the front, well, the backside really, of my custom Wordsmith tarot deck, Wordsmith of the Imperial cards. The graphic has flames coming, they're white, flames coming off of each letter in opposite directions, and I like that too because it speaks to magnetism and like balancing things out, trying to balance polarities and energies and weigh things and reason things through. Just as Ram Dass said, we're all walking each other home. I'm constantly trying to self-soothe myself out of feeling like the world is too insane to handle. And as I've spoken on before, it's really just a navigation system that I had to develop from being in the darkness and wanting to not be alive for an extended period of time. And the navigation system that I developed is the energetic one. It's not the, pharmaceutical one. And it's not for everybody and everything, but without further ado, I think I'll just stop this, which is longer at this point. The introduction disclaimer is longer than the actual video I intended to post, but that's okay because they're both combined shorter than my usuals, and I'm into more short form stuff. I'm resting and integrating things before an uptick in a few energy updates that I'm going to be doing towards the end of the year. So I hope everybody's doing well. And yeah, if you have any emails or, concerns or questions, please do send me what it is that you have to say if there's anything that's unclear about the disclaimers around like questions about tattooing oneself and safety measures, and or if you disagree with anything, just please do express yourself. I don't want to upset anyone. Okay. All right. I hope that everybody finds a way to feel blessed in the small ways that are available to us as we choose to acknowledge them. Okay. Peace. Hello. I was at a really beautiful location under this little slowly dripping waterfall, and I should have filmed there, but I didn't have the message yet. The message has come to me about the healthcare system, and I'm specifically thinking about something because I'm a person who I've had a fainting spell issue. Throughout the course of my life, it started when I was a child, and I would typically faint in the shower on accident because of the steam and the hot water and the way that affects blood pressure and whatever else. And I've gotten concussed a couple times that way. If a shower is a plastic tub, that's one thing, but if it's stone or ceramic, you can smack your head if you fall down. And then having the water, if you don't have time to shut it off, it can feel like just being waterboarded, if you're underneath the water. So not good experiences. And I fainted in the shower for the first time in a while last night. And I had been tattooing my arm, and I gave myself a pretty massive hematoma on accident because I was using a fine liner needle, and they have the capability to pierce like through the first layers of the skin a lot more because the other ones are like a fork, so that it punctures the skin. They're just thicker, for thicker lines. Punctures the skin multiple times in order to get it, so that you don't have to go back in with a tiny liner and make a billion dots, just a million. So went in a little bit deeper than I'm used to, and the second it happened, I could tell I was like, something is not right. And it swelled up right away. It turned blue and lumpy and discolored, but all the veins in my arm were like swollen, like popping out, and I was like, okay, my circulation is unhappy. and I got a little lightheaded, and I was like, okay. Googled hematomas. It started to subside almost immediately, so I was like, I'm not worried. But then I decided to get in the shower. Something I do when I take showers. I'm loving the light codes today. Something I do at the end of my showers is turn the water to very, very cold, ice cold, and I just endure it, physical distress tolerance style, and let it ground me and encourage me to breathe and connect to my breath. So I did that as usual, but something about the way my blood was flowing because of this clot that I created by puncturing one of my more important veins, it would seem. I immediately, when I switched the temperature, got a huge head rush and I fainted. But right before it happened, I could tell it was happening, so I turned the water off, which is great. Because when you leave the water on, it poses other issues that can be dangerous. Talk about it like I'm suggesting this to somebody. No, I've just come to manage it. Very interesting thing about the instances when I was a child is that I didn't always tell anybody about them, and I don't know why that is. I felt like I was doing something wrong or something bad had happened. With visual migraines too, when I was a child, I would get these auras that would creep into my vision until I couldn't see at all. Now as an adult, those will escalate into full-blown headaches, really, really excruciating headaches. But when I was a kid, it was just this experience I would occasionally have where I would be rendered temporarily blind, almost as if you push on your eyeball and it starts to filter in this rainbow kind of thing. My whole world would become like that, and I was at a swim lesson. I was maybe 10 years old when that happened for the first time, and I didn't know how to go about explaining my reality to anybody, so I just let it happen. But I was like, I could be dying right now. I guess this is how it ends. And I don't think I was out last night for more than a couple seconds, because the second I opened my eyes, I had already turned off the water, and I was trying to get out of the shower because I was like, I need to lie down and have water and take deep breaths. I was like, oh fuck. And I got up and I went and lied down, and then I had a huge head rush and this high-pitched rushing just existing in my ears and my head cavity, the cranial, for a while, and it all subsided and I'm fine. I didn't hit my head in the shower. It was more of a soft slump. Yeah, not great, but I'm thinking about how with the energies, certain things for me in the past with my instances of visual migraines. I mean, I have a complicated history with my neurotypicalness or not, and then my neurological health, having had multiple concussions in my life, in addition to strange phenomenon already pre-existing before said concussions. And I've grappled with the idea that those things, I'm like, is this a psychic attack? Is this something that's being beamed into my head that's giving me this migraine right now? Almost like if you're a high vibrational person and you reach a certain ceiling, you interact with this layer that's in place, that's been put in place by some system that we can't see to beam into you in some way. That's a little bit more of my, paranoid conspiracy brain, but trust me, I've thought about that a lot, because the thing about the world today is that if anybody has any type of physical ailment, or you're having these recurring issues, there's so many reasons for that, but we're trained. If your health is at stake, you don't really have an option, right? You have to start doing things to address it. And our only method of doing that is by going right into the very expensive, very flawed Western health system. So I just want to acknowledge how troubling that is, because when you introduce other things into the system, you're not addressing the root. A lot of people, I mean, yes, some people experience cures after they have an issue and go to the doctor. That's true. But what I'm getting at more so is that in many more cases, people develop other kinds of secondary, tertiary problems, and they say, oh, this is just what happens. You just get old, you start getting all these issues. Or is it because we start medicating ourselves and succumbing to the idea that we're ill, and we accept the labels of certain diagnoses, and then we start to walk and embody them because we're treating them as such? And there's kind of this tandem manifestation of the physical form where we're manifesting more disease into the body rather than manifesting light into the body. That is not what is practiced or trained. That is the future of what Emily Pompey, who I mention a lot, works with. That's her profession. It's what I'm being trained in. Introducing light into the body, because by that approach, disease naturally migrates out instead of what we do by being very, very invasive with the body. Not just physically invasive, but chemically invasive, with a system that is designed to be able to sustain itself. And less will we have to even kind of try to pull people out of this circus show with how we treat the body, because I think we're developing some sort of energetic resiliency. This is like the ascension process to these very threatening external factors that affect our bodies and our souls and our energies. That is the overriding of them, right? It doesn't mean it doesn't come without complication, or you don't feel the lethargy and the oppression of it. It's about raising the internal frequency in order to be something that holds its own outside of that. And because we're not trained to do that, no one's really doing it from the get-go. It ends up being something that, like, if you get into a dire place and you find the light and you want an awakening journey, you can start to do it. But for people who never come upon this path, more so what it is that they are just, throughout the course of their lives, bogged down, placated by substances and short-term solutions that further bog them down, create density and blockage in the body, and complicate the very existence of the person so that they can't engage with certain activities in a human exploration way to live their life. I mean, the whole thing, if you zoom out, looks like it's just created. So, I had a very potent visual 2 evenings ago, and to be honest, it disturbed me a bit, because what I saw is the surface of the earth and all these cities and all these people, and we zoomed out up and up and up and up, and we looked down on it like we were microbes in a petri dish, just writhing, like larvae, just writhing on the surface of the earth, contorting and doing all of the activities that humans are doing. And it's like we are living in a egotistical society where people are working harder to make less, and water bottles have never been thinner, and food costs more, but there's less in each package, and the working class is being exploited, and there's such a division between economic divide and the people who actually pull the strings, and we're just constantly fed the illusion of choice, but it's all conglomeration and monopolies. And the real choice is seeing that is the option. There's always something on the marketing curve that comes out to meet the need that humans have. People have devices and intelligence and systems to be able to see where the market of the consumer, because of money, because that ties into sexual energy and expression and having and safety and security. What do we need to buy in order to make things right again? Because it's never good. There's always something more that we're being told that we need to do and buy and have and adopt. There's ways, and I think about the scene in Barbie where he taps on the iPad and he's like, nope, that idea is going to sell. It can just run the numbers. And so in order to keep you trapped inside of a system that needs the participation of the masses in it in order to survive, and then you look at the people in the top who know about it, very selfish. It doesn't matter if you posted a picture on Instagram with Kamala Harris and said, I stand for the queer community. How are you living your life, and what is your rhetoric around what's really going on in the world right now? You're still complicit. We see a lot of people who are trying to find their way through the very troubling social and political justice issues of the world right now, saying what they think they need to say, and then still being selfish because they don't know how to aspire to anything other than what it is we've been trained to do. So that's that for today.